is called to order. Roll call, please.
Ms. Pierce?
Here.
Mrs. Shepherd? Mrs. Dineno?
Present.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Holton?
Here.
Mrs. Burdick? Chairman Yem.
Here. All right, second is approval of minutes. And you can see we had a lot of meetings with not approving any of the minutes. So I'd just soon take it all in lump unless somebody has something about one of them. Any changes? All right, then I need a recommendation.
Make a motion that we approve all of the minutes on the agenda.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay. So we have motion, second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're going to change the agenda a little bit since Mrs. Lyon here says she has work to do. So we're going to move her up with everybody's concurrence to do her briefing. This is like Sunshine Law Review, and I think we do this annually anyway.
We do this every couple of years, and I thank you all for having me back. I think the last time I was here was 2 years ago, and I see you've got a new member, so this works out really well. And I know that some of you have been around here so long you could do this Sunshine Law presentation, but I just wanted to go over it again briefly and see if you all had any questions. I know a couple of months ago, Mrs. Vox sent you all a request to look at a video that I did 2 or 3 years ago called Top 10 Sunshine Law and Public Records Law Questions. And I was hoping that if you had a chance to look at that prior to this meeting, if it engendered any questions in your mind, that would be good for me to answer those as well. But I handed out 2 things. The first is the current issue of the Brechner Report, which is put out by the University of Florida Brechner Center for Freedom of Information. And I get this every month. This is from February of 2016. And I mostly am handing this out because I want you to see that as well as the national level where you see a lot of email issues and the state level at the governor's office where you see a lot of email issues, there are a lot of issues around the state on sunshine law and public records law. And if you get a chance later to kind of glance through this, you'll sort of see the wide range of questions and issues that come up on the statewide level. And as you can see, the sunshine law and the public records law mean business. And they're the law, and we have to abide by it. In fact, a few years ago, just about 6 months prior to the Chinese Olympics, I was in China with my little sister, who was a law professor for Villanova, and she had me do a sunshine law presentation to a group of law students in Hangzhou, China. And they seemed pretty amazed that we would have such an open system here in Florida. And at the end of the presentation, and after several days of going out with them and meeting with them on other issues, my sister and I asked them, what are the 3 things that you think are the most interesting about the United States? And they mentioned 3 things that they really admired. One was not freedom of speech, which I thought was interesting, freedom of association. Because if you can't associate to speak freely, then you've really lost a valuable right. The second one was free and uncensored American public libraries, which as a former librarian I thought was really wonderful. And the third was the Florida Sunshine Law and Public Record Law, which they thought was just a marvelous idea and wished that their own country had something like that. So when we're kind of grumbling about the ins and outs of the Sunshine Law, remember those Chinese students who really wish they had that same system in their own country. The Open Meetings Law, which is another way of saying the Sunshine Law, is really pretty easy. Anytime you all talk about matters that could foreseeably come before the Recreation Commission as Recreation Commission business, you need to talk about them here in this room where minutes are being taken together. Any other time, there can be no discussions, and discussions means email, Facebook, Twitter, tweet, telephone conversations, or writing. Everything happens here. So although there's a lot of wrinkles to the Sunshine Law, when you look at it that way, it's really pretty simple. The Public Records Law is similar. For the Public Records Law, anything that you send or receive that has to do with the business of the Recreation Commission has to be retained pursuant to the state retention schedule. And Tammy and the clerks all know the retention schedule, so if you will just provide them with copies of everything that you receive or send, they can keep track of it, they can keep it for the required period, and they know how to handle it in case there's a public records request. So that's the Sunshine Law and the Public Records Law in a pretty quick format. I always go over the appearance of impropriety. Of course, the Sunshine Law doesn't mean that you all can't go to a party or associate together, but when you do, just remember the appearance of impropriety, because if someone sees a couple of Recreation Commission members over in a dark corner huddled and talking, they're going to think that they might be talking about the business of your commission. And although I know you all wouldn't do that, they may not know that. And it's better to err on the side of caution and remember the appearance of impropriety. So I don't know if you all had a chance to review the top 10 Sunshine Law and Public Records Law questions that I got a couple years ago. But if you did, and if any of those gave you cause for questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
I have one.
Sure, Judy.
Since we're working so close to the Marine, that means we got to be careful being together too?
No, it's only, the Sunshine Law only applies to your committee. So you can talk one-on-one to the Marine Commissioners, you can talk to City Council member, staff. It's just the prohibition on your group.
Oh, I thought it would be, since you're talking about the same thing, even if it's a Marine Commission, then that's all right. You can be talking. We
Right.
can
Now,
feel what's going to happen with the two pieces of the property.
right. Now, if two Marine Commissioner members are together, they can't talk together.
They can't talk about it, but
Right. But you can talk to one Marine Commissioner at a time. Right.
okay. Thank you on that.
Sure.
one.
Any other questions or concerns that you all might have about the Public Records Law? Just be careful. It's a jungle out there. I know it's a hard way to get used to working, but a lot of you all have been on the board for a while, so you're sort of used to it. And I know that you're going to come along. And if you have any questions, give me a call.
Okay, good.
Do you know if every state has the same thing that we have here in Florida?
No, they do not. And when I'm on this listserv with attorneys all over the United States and Canada, and when they hear what we operate under, they are just stunned. There are some that have some equal rules, and that's Texas, not Louisiana, Oregon, Pennsylvania. The last I heard had no public records law at all. You have to go through the Freedom of Information Act. So you can see on one hand, it is very, very good for citizens to have what we have in place here. And so it's worth learning the rules and abiding by the rules just for that alone. Yes, sir.
If there's two,
Can you come up to the mic?
I'm sorry,
Thanks.
if there's two people in the Marine Commission speaking, if there's two people in the Marine speaking together and they have a guest that's part of that, are they allowed to discuss anything that they want?
No, nothing that would come before the Marine Commission,
Thank you.
except the same way we are here in this room where minutes are taken and it's been noticed and it's open to the public. Any other questions, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, how about the procession of sociable conversations between commission members?
That's fine as long as you just remember what I cautioned you, the appearance of impropriety.
Yeah, but that's an open book.
And if you all really want to get into the guts of it, if you're going to be on the commission for a while, and a lot of you have, I would recommend that you get a copy of the Government in the Sunshine Manual. This is the 2015 edition. The 2016 will probably come out in another couple of months. And you can see that I've been doing this 20 years, and this is last year's, and you see all my stickies. So although it's very easy to reduce it down to one sentence, there's a lot of permutations that happen that we huddle and talk about and try to figure out and call the Attorney General's office and the Ethics Department. There's a lot of wrinkles in the law, but this is very helpful. And if you don't want to buy a hard copy, I'm kind of old school. I like to be able to look at things and underline. But you can also go to the Attorney General, State Attorney General website, and it's on there in electronic form, and you can keyword search and find whatever you're looking for. Or you can just call me. I'm upstairs.
Peggy, what's the penalty? What can be the penalty for that?
Well, let me look back. It's definitely a penalty. There's a fine. It's mostly the embarrassment of the thing. I mean, you don't want to be seen breaking the law. Let me just get my notes on that.
As commission members, if we did that, we could be released, couldn't we?
Well, I'm certain the city council, you serve at the pleasure of the city council, and if they see that you're violating the law, they're not going to be real happy with that. Oops. That's all good.
If somebody files a complaint, Peggy, the city council doesn't provide, I think, the defense of that, does it?
I think they probably would. But here's the
Or would they
penalty
direct
for
you?
violation, and this is the Sunshine Law. An unintentional violation of the Sunshine Law is a non-criminal infraction punishable by a fine of up to $500. A knowing violation of the law is a second-degree misdemeanor, carrying a jail term of up to 60 days and a fine of not more than $500. And this may change. The legislature's in session until Thursday afternoon at 5 o'clock, and there are an awful lot of bills on Sunshine Law and Public Records Law in front of the legislature right now. So anything could happen at this point. There are a lot of bills flying around.
Yeah, but I think historically we've never had any trouble with any of the commissions, right? Just City of Vero Beach.
Not the commissions, no. No. We had some problems back in the mid-'90s with the city council.
Yeah,
With
hospital
a shade
district.
meeting. It was a shade meeting issue.
Yeah, and the hospital
Very nice.
district too.
Yeah, hospitals had some issues. The governor's had some issues. Hillary Clinton's had some issues. You have to be very careful with public records. And remember, public records doesn't just mean records that are on your email address through the city if you had one. It's your cell phone, it's your iPad, it's Facebook, it's Twitter, it's Tweet. It's
Does this include if I were speaking to Rob or someone
no,
in the rec department?
staff's fine.
Okay.
It's just commission members.
Same with
It's
Rita,
just
too.
people.
And same with Peggy. You could talk to Rita or Peggy or any. And when in doubt, just give me a call.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Great, well, thank you very much.
All right, well, thank you for coming.
Oops.
Okay. Now we'll go to citizen input for Mr. Derek Miller.
How you doing? I'm Derek Muller. I'm the president of the Indian River Sports Complex, the leasee over at Michaels Field.
Let me interrupt you just a second. Can we put the graphic on the overhead?
Can we? Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
You have one that you can stick up
Yeah,
there?
I'll let you have it.
That way we can see what he's talking about.
Yeah, yours is clearer than mine.
Hopefully this saves you a few words.
Didn't like it.
Okay, as you can see up there.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
It's not on ours.
Oh, okay.
It's on
There we go.
Oh, we can see it, but you can't.
Oh,
Great.
there it is.
Correct. Okay.
Yeah, the bottom field, of course, is Michaels Field, and then you can see where the sand lots are and where we're looking to actually add another game field. Because what the issue is that we have, especially if you've been following anything going on with the county, and there's just not enough places to play. Right now, we have 32 baseball teams. Okay, so we play on Michaels and we play on Thompson. 2 games a night. That's 8 teams playing. So that leaves basically 24 teams looking to practice on a couple of sandlot fields and things of that nature. Also, with the high cost of the electric, our electric bill last year was $21,000. So that means that you got 340 kids, about $62 per kid is just for electric. So if we have another field out there, we can play more Saturday games, thus cutting our electric bill down significantly. So basically what we're doing is just trying to take one of the corner sandlot fields, fence it in, just make some improvements. I mean, that's no lights. I think on the picture it shows lights, but that was just the quick little program that I had. It had it on there. Lights, of course, are $150,000. That's another project for another day. We're right now just trying to get a field that we can actually play games on, and a better practice field. At the same time, we would probably bring in more dirt on 2 of the existing fields as well to make them even more playable, I should say, a little bit better. Upgrade those 2 fields. So that's what we're just looking for, an okay on that to go ahead. One reason we pushed it up and back around the corner, of course, there's that little sliver. There's like a little rectangular piece between the 2 fields. If you see it, that's somebody else, a private citizen owns that little piece of property. So I've talked to her a couple of times about maybe donating it to the league, and then I could turn it over to you guys, and then we could slide it back in a little bit and make things work. But I'm just assuming that it's not going to happen. But that's what we're looking forward to doing here. And then probably going forward, if we got permission, I would also like to look at maybe extending the lease. I think we're in like 5-year increments, 5, and we can continue to renew it at 5. No other organization has that in this town that's sports. They're all basically 20 years, 10 or 20 years. And one of the issues that's going to happen is I have funds to do this improvement and people that are going to give money, but they're concerned with a 5-year lease, especially in light of what the county has just recently done. We had a 20-year lease, and they're actively selling that property out from under us. So, so people just, it's not you per se, but people just don't trust those type of things. If you're going to give $100,000, you don't want to know in 2 years that somebody else is going to come in and take it out from under you and not use it for what, they intended to give for. So, those are just the 2 things that we would be looking forward here going ahead. I mean, our league is growing and growing and growing, and it's getting bigger. Just to give you, we took over in the end of the spring. Last year, our fall program, the year before, they had like 100 kids in there. We had 223. They had 230 in their spring program last year. This year, we have 352. So, I mean, we're kind of exponentially growing. And again, we need more space. At the end of the day, we just need more fields for the kids to play on. So, of course, we'd still have those fields open. I don't know if this would show. I didn't even bring my phone in. But I have a scheduling thing. It's easy. Anybody can use these fields. I mean, we even have some people that do soccer or flag football. All they do is call me, and we schedule them. Where, an empty field, a field not being used doesn't do anybody any good. I still have to cut the grass. I still have to rake the dirt, whether somebody uses it or not. So that's kind of always been our goal, is to, if anybody needs a place to play, as long as something else isn't scheduled, we're all for it. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what our next progression is from here. I think you are step 1, but I don't know, what do we do? Do I need to get on the docket as a formal thing to vote on to see if this is okay? And then I would imagine go to zoning, then go to there. So I'm kind of seeking some guidance from you guys as well.
Can I ask you something then?
Sure.
This is right by, I believe, isn't it the Elks Club? Do they have any property they might be able to help you with?
No, the Elks Club would be south of it. If you see Michael's Field, you see that line that's kind of a little jagged on the bottom? Okay. They actually maybe will help us with, if you look at the bottom field, if you can see where left field is, that open area, they use that a lot for their own parking. We kind of work together. They let us use their hall when we have big meetings, and we let them use the parking. So we have a good little relationship. And we've had some talk, if we do build that other thing, is maybe them, I don't think it's paving it per se, but it may be just getting more like parking curves to kind of because right now it's an open field and people kind of park haphazardly. And if we add another field and you have some more kids, we always have safety issues so we'd like a little more order in there, and they agreed, and that's something they might be willing to do. But, we have the community in general is stepping up, and people want to help and do stuff again. And so this is kind of the plan that we came up with. And the one concern from a couple of the people that want to donate, one guy wants to donate 25, but he's really worried that, in 3 years somebody will come take it, or they want to change that into
We had
something
the same
else.
issue with the dog park.
Yeah.
Real donors wanted, a lease with some time on it. Your lease is up in 3 more years?
Yeah, it's a 5-year with like a open-ended kind of 5-year renewal, but that just doesn't make people feel
Sure.
good about writing that check.
Yeah, sure. Does he have to wait till the end of his lease to renegotiate the term? No?
To extend it. Yeah, that's if we were doing a 10 and 10 or like soccer association, lacrosse, all those ones, those are 20 and 20. I think those are with the county, but anything, you understand my concern with that.
I do.
And
What were you saying about the county fields? You said the land had been sold out from under you.
oh yeah, they've okay. So you enter into an agreement. The previous group entered into an agreement.
On the county fields.
Yeah, on the county fields to use those fields, and they were going to make some improvements on there, and they had people to do it, but nobody would write a check because Joe Baird was actively trying to sell it and telling everybody that yes, they're trying to sell it. The word was forever that they were trying to trade it for the property where they were going to build South County High School, the one that's across from what is it, on Oslo and
Oslo
20th,
Middle.
across from South County Park. There was active talks of them swapping it. So you had some donors that wanted to help and do stuff, but not one of them was going to write a check for $100,000 or $200,000 if they're going to trade it to the school board a week later. So
What's the status on that?
the status of it is we are June 1st. We are not going to be using that facility anymore. I think they're working out the details with the school board. That's the latest what they're doing on there. Whether the school board's going to swap it or do money. So
But you're going to lose that.
3 fields. We're going to lose 3 fields there. That's what I'm saying is that's another reason why we need to get this field done. Another thing that'll alleviate practice space is we'll build a couple more batting cages because you can run a practice in a batting cage. A lot of guys just want to hit anyway. You don't need the whole field for that. A couple more batting cages is a low-cost alternative to having more space. But right now, if you drive around, like I said, I got 24 teams. They're hopping. Like I have everything booked 7 days a week. I mean,
So you're going to be down to using 2 improved fields, and it looks like on this you have 2 practice fields. Right?
Yeah, we'll have the 3 fields to be able to use. I'll have a couple batting cages, and we'll just have to make do. Now, and then plus, if I flip more, if we have another field, I can then play more Saturday games and thus free up some weeknights for more practice time, if that makes sense. I'll take games off of some weeknights and put them on Saturdays, which the parents, by the way, would be really happy because you play a 5:30 game, that's great. You play the 7:15 game, which doesn't start till 7:30 on a weeknight, and a kid gets home at 10 o'clock at night. Those are typically the emails that you get where parents aren't as happy. So if you can shift games to more on Saturday, parents would, be a lot happier.
Would your group be interested in looking into using some of the land at Leisure Square?
We could, but I don't know if there's actually baseball stuff, and the way the lights are set up for football, it's not, you can't quite cross over. It would.
I've tried to do baseball out there.
Yeah, it's you would need massive improvements.
Yeah.
Baseball's got to be a nice flat level surface. Football, you can just have grass and run on
Not built out like you think, and there's not enough room.
Yeah.
I did baseball in there, and it wasn't very good. Didn't work, and I did it for kids this age.
Yeah, so other than Bob Summers Field,
Which you don't really have. You have Thompson
I have
Field,
Thompson
which
and
is behind Rosewood, and you have the Michael Fields.
Yeah, and what we do is we have 2 cages at Thompson, so we got practices going on in there while games are going on. That open area, as long as there's daylight, the area to the west, it's out in the left field of Thompson. It's a nice wide open area that like T-ball and coach pitch teams can use for practice. When you start getting into like kid pitch, which is our minors and majors, you need a field to practice on a regular baseball field.
So are you saying
I mean,
you need more fields?
Oh, we definitely need more fields. I mean, ideally, in a perfect world, there'd be a quad like there is at Dodger Town that
Yeah,
would be
I'm
able to be
familiar with
used
them.
by our residents. I mean, that's in a perfect world.
Yeah.
So, that's. But we're not there. We understand that. But this is a one step in the right direction. I would tell you also the way that's positioned. If you look, you see where it says Vero Beach.
Mm-hmm.
You can fit
opportunity for
another
one more
field
field
there,
if you
so
need.
you could get 3 game fields there. And then if you got lights, eventually down the road, 3 fields with lights would solve pretty much all the problems. You'd have enough practice fields and games to fit the teams. I mean, my projections are we're probably max out at about 40 teams. We're at 32 now. I think we'll get a little bit of growth, a little more growth, but just looking at the demographics in the town and progressing it, that's about where you'll max out.
So how many acres does it take to do a field?
A little league size field is 1.1 acres, just the inside the fence. So now if you take outside the fence, just call it 2 acres per field. So you probably need 8 acres to be able to do a quad.
Is it still 200 feet to the outfield fence?
Well, no, typically, like if we build that field will be 225. You know, the kids are bigger, stronger, the bat technology, the balls jump off the bat.
Even though there's still a little league, you can move back 20. Wow.
Oh yeah, like there's like I've done travel ball for a while, 11, 12-year-olds, the kids. The 200 it makes the place kind of small. You know, and then honestly, if you want to hold, like, let's say we want to do the district championships here for Cal Ripken League, you know, for the state. If we did the district tournament here, you have to have 2 fields with a concession stand. So Michael's already has a concession stand. We have 2 fields. They have to be grass infields. That's why we have them, not the dirt multi-purpose. They have to be grass infields with a mound. And you have to have 2 fields. So if we build this field, hypothetically, we could hold the district tournament up here and bring people in. So.
Why does it have to be grass infield?
Because they want
I coached.
it's just their rule. They want to play on
Little league
baseball fields, not multi-purpose fields.
They've just changed it since years ago when I coached.
Yeah, no. What we do is typically they want you to have 1 field with grass. You don't necessarily have to have both. You got to have 1 field because your championship game better be on there. Your other fields can be. For the early round games could be multi-purpose, but you have to have 1 dedicated grass infield, and it has to be a 225 fence for Cal Ripken rules. Yeah.
I think a direction you need to think about going in is if we can find land, would you guys provide the money to fix it? Probably talking about what?
My answer
10
would say in a
acres, something
perfect
like
world,
that.
yes, that would be great, but I can just tell you, just on trying to get sponsorships for teams, it's like pulling teeth, and then that's $375 to sponsor a team, $375. You're talking about. I've done cost estimates before. It's about $246,000 per field. So you build a quad, you're in, and that's just for the field. That's not even site work, other kind of stuff. So by the time you settle it down, a quad's going to cost you. Just to give you an example, the Dodger Town quad cost $2.3 million. For them to build that was $2.3 million, and they probably had about $200,000 in above and beyond site work because it was kind of mucky in there when they did it back then. So you're still talking about $2 million to build a quad, and I don't think we're going to get that. I think how you would get that is continue to do these things. Stay the course, start doing this, and then maybe someone steps up and says, we need a bigger, better facility. It just depends on,
Well, you're already behind the 8 ball. I mean, you've already said that.
Yeah. We're doing the best we can. Like I said, the easiest, like getting this field, and also the whole thing, even from the, I hate to use a corny line, but if you build it, they will come. It's exactly like that in the movie, especially in this town. We get staged this little thing built, then people say, okay, things are moving. things are going, that kind of starts that snowball rolling downhill. More people then maybe want to donate. That's where you can probably start a fundraiser to try to get lights. That's $150,000. Let's see if we could do that. And again, the way this is laid out, we could add another field. And I'm telling you, 3 fields is just as good as 4, just because we also have Thompson across town. So then we'd effectively have 4 fields, which would be a quad. And this could be done for far, far cheaper. And you can do it in stages. And it doesn't disrupt anything that we're doing at the present time. Right now it's kind of, it's a juggling act to get all these teams find places to practice and juggling times. Like I said, I have somebody that's going to be donating, so we're back in the left field area down in there. We're going to build 4 batting cages. 4 batting cages, you can get 2 or 4 teams practicing at one time. That'll alleviate a lot of problems. Batting cages are very inexpensive to build. It's about $4,000 a cage. And that solves a lot of problems right there. So,
What percentage of participation are city residents versus county residents?
Okay, I did this for the county.
You did.
What?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Okay. It was like 13%.
That's right.
Was in the fall was in the city. My spring numbers are now 19.5.
About 20%.
About 20%.
Right on.
Yeah. 19.5% are the city. The county completely turned their backs on us. If you just go back and watch it, I had somebody, I won't make a name, look at me. I found some money that was set aside since 2006, the Windsor property money, if you must know, $1 million sitting in an account that could only be used to improve recreational facilities. So I dug that up after they told me they couldn't do anything because that's city property. That's why they wanted to get rid of it at 16th Street. I said, well, we need bathrooms there. We don't have bathrooms. Just build me a bathroom concession stand and one more field, and we'll continue to maintain it indefinitely, take it off your rolls. What does it matter that it's in the city, right? What do you care? It's serving everybody. Somebody looked me in the eye, said, get me 2 more votes. I'll get you $500,000. I got the 2 votes, and they turned on us because they want to do it. They want some other they want to do something. They just want to unload it. The bottom line is they don't want to have anything that's city-owned. So we kind of knew that going in, and this was kind of our fallback position. So.
Well, that's not city-owned.
It's not. It's in the city limits, I think.
Well, within the city limits. Sorry, I didn't mean to say
It's
city
actually
limits.
school
Sorry.
district property, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's what?
Is it county or school
That's the
district?
counties. That's in
Okay.
Newburgh
Yeah,
County.
county had it,
It's
but it
in
was
the city
within the city
limits.
limits, and so forever they said, well, we can't help you out. We can't give you the money.
Well, that's Joe Barrett now. What about the county commissioners?
That's what I'm telling you as well. Joe Baird told, no, want to get rid of it. We went to the county commissioners, discovered that money. One of the county commissioners looked at me, said that it's just politics.
Isn't he retired now? Go back.
What's that?
Not yet.
He's out in June. I think he's gone in June.
Yeah. So yeah, he's out, and he absolutely didn't want it. He actually got kind of upset that we because he kept telling me no, because you can't spend impact money, this and that. It's just a lot of politics. At the end of the day, I'll tell you exactly what it was like. It's like divorced parents and all the little league kids were the ones caught in the middle getting torn back and forth. That's about all it was. Just a lot of politics. It's at the end of the day, we're talking about little kids. That should take precedent. We're doing it. Like, I run these leagues, just so you know, and I don't have a kid playing. Okay, I got a 15-year-old. I don't have a kid that's playing in Little League. I just love baseball like him. We grew up. Our best memories were playing youth baseball, and I want all these kids to have the same thing.
So you're good with this, right?
Yeah.
So what do we need to do to move it forward?
Well, first of all, to move it forward, we can make a recommendation to move it forward, but let me forewarn you that a big issue is parking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because once it goes to city council, they're going to kick it back for site plan approval,
Right.
which will require designated parking, which
Okay.
will eat up a lot of your space.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we had opening day we had there. He was there throughout the first pitch. I mean, we had basically 700 people in the stands, not to mention the kids. So we probably had about 300 to 400 cars, and we made it work in there.
But I think, see, that when you go to site plan, don't you have to have designated and improved parking type? Jim, if you'll come
It's
up.
going to depend on what site plan does, because technically, all we're doing is basically fencing in an existing field back in that corner. We're
Yeah,
just kind of,
but rather than guessing, we've got an answer back here.
yeah.
Or direction, better direction.
Oh, sure.
A site plan can be approved with, for example, a parking agreement between the Oaks or the Elks Club and the baseball, and so there are ways of getting around it. So it's not like what we have experiencing on the island with the dog park. This would be a different situation
All right, so
because
we can
there
do it
is
without
land
losing-
there.
We can do it without losing any of these fields.
Yeah,
Practice.
because what I heard discussed is the Elks Club has open space that he's not going to be building a field on, but he can use joint parking with the Elks Club.
Okay. Yeah,
so-
I mean, it just depends on how you jiggle the puzzle, but.
Yeah,
it is
and
a
the
puzzle.
key is we just want to make sure that they had that agreement, interlocal agreement for the use of this space.
So can we look into finding more land for these guys?
Yeah, that's great to look into it. The question is who's going to buy it. So I think we're in the land selling business, not the land buying business. But this is a great use of this facility, and it was an underused asset until Little League Baseball got a hold of it, and it has now changed the whole dynamics there at that field. So I would wholeheartedly endorse, and if it's a modification to the lease is what we need, in order for him to be able to raise the funds, we would endorse that as well, because it's really running a very good operation. I realize the percentages, and Dick, you and I have had many conversations about this, are sort of upside down. But at the same time, these guys are taking the bull by the horns and doing the payment of that. So to me, that is a totally different operation. And we have the space. The intended use was baseball, so therefore they're using the intended space accordingly.
Okay. With that in mind, then I'll make a recommendation that we forward to council this concept with the noting, that you're going to have to have site plan approval,
Yeah.
which will address the parking and everything. And also that you move to, that the council consider giving you a 20-year lease.
Okay. That'd be
Okay.
fantastic.
This program's been around, 50, 60 years, or
Yeah.
even
50s.
more.
Since the 50s.
Yeah, since it started. Because I know some of the guys that started it,
Yeah.
they're dying off now. But
That's kind of the interesting thing when you start talking to people about helping, they come out there, they're like, I played here 40 years ago. So it's an interesting dynamic. It's a very nostalgic field, and people like all the renovations and everything that we're doing. And I appreciate.
all right, that's
Your
my
guys'
motion. Is there a
consideration.
second?
I'll second.
Okay, discussion. Anybody from the audience want to say something? Is that sufficient, Jim, motion-wise?
It is, and I appreciate you putting the extension of the lease in there, which gives us another avenue to work with.
Okay, let's vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
You got it.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
And I got to run. I wanted to listen to her stuff, but I have to go umpire a game now.
What
So.
are the age groups before a young man just has to go into a regular size 90 feet?
The 90 foot
Instead of
is,
the- instead of
13
the
is when you go there. However, one thing that we do is we make some exceptions with some 13-year-olds, because there's some 13-year-olds that are real small still, so that big field will eat them up. So we do like a waiver, and we actually let them play another year down. I mean, if they're a world beater, hey, you got to go play with the big boys, but
You go more by height and progression of
skill
the
level.
young man's individual.
Yeah, we try to create the best experience for him. I mean, if that kid is just not going to be able to play up there, then he's going to quit baseball. What good is that? So we have in our majors division, I think we have 8 league age 13-year-olds. Because their skill level fits within the group, and it keeps them playing baseball for another year, lets them grow, and then typically the following year, then they usually, we've done it I did it in the fall, did it here, and it's worked out real well. A couple of those kids in the fall actually made their middle school team, If we didn't let them play, they wouldn't have played baseball for a year, so how would they have gotten better to join a team, right?
Hey, Greg, be careful saying guys. There's some pretty good
That's
girls that
right.
are playing.
Yeah, if you saw in our magazine, one of the top
Yeah, that's
one of the
great.
top girls in the minors is she was a 10-year-old girl pitcher. She was just lights out. She's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Are more
Holy
ladies
bless you.
getting into the game now?
Yeah, I think right now, currently, I think we have 8 girl players in the league.
Got-
Yeah,
We've got as high as 8.
yeah, yeah. We're open to everybody. You know, if they want to play baseball, we're going to give them the best baseball experience they can get,
Oh, that's fine.
and hopefully, we'll give them a better one in the future.
Yeah, I got a suggestion for you.
Sure.
Because with the county commission elections coming up in November, you need to organize your group to hit the people.
We are. There's a couple other. There's somebody who's running who's a little more baseball friendly. I think we kind of talked about him on opening day. Told people this is a youth baseball friendly guy. I'll be honest with you, Joe Baird on the way out is going to help tremendously. It's just, I think him getting rid of that property was a bucket list item for him. It was like on his checklist to do. So
Yeah, he has a couple of them. We're familiar with them.
yeah. So he's got a few things, and it was just like
You guys just got to hammer it home that you need more fields.
Oh, I showed them charts, numbers. It's not hard to do the math when I tell you, how many teams we have, how many teams are playing. The math doesn't work. They know it. Their grand idea was trying to build another quad by Dodgertown, but the problem with that is that sounds great, but we'll never be able to use it, and it'll be the same because Dodgertown's busiest time of year is February, March, and April. That's our season. That's our main season. So will those fields ever be available, or will they basically be annexed by the historic Dodgertown for their out-of-town people? So it'll be the same thing as the quad that's there where we can't use it. I approached Dodgertown a long time ago. Hey, when you don't have it used, why don't we work out something? It'll be good for the community. And direct quote from the head over there at Dodgertown was, all they care about are beds and heads. We don't care about the community. He says, we're a business. He was being very honest. And I understand it, but at the same time, it's a shame we have this beautiful facility. I go back and watch some of the old council members. I put a great presentation up there. I showed.
Well, that's not the original agreement because I was here when they did the original agreement.
Yeah.
And there's supposed to be times.
Well, I think the
Where you
county
guys
has like
can go
10
over.
days that they can
There's
use
not that
it.
many times.
Yeah, they
No,
offered it
that's-
to us once. Hey, you can use it one day. I'm like, okay, what are we going to do with one day over there? Okay,
Well, it
that'd
was
be great.
supposed to be for tournaments and things like that. Is what they, we're going to set it aside for.
Yeah, that never materialized. We tried that, and it was like,
I would think that, Derek and his group will continue to try to solicit their help as much as they possibly can, but it may fall on deaf ears.
Yeah, we haven't seen Craig around here in a long time, so. But he was here telling us that the fields would be available.
yeah, it's just then it always comes down to. I can tell you this happened last fall because somebody had mentioned that. So then we kind of pressed that, and they're like, "Okay, what days?" I was like, "How about this weekend?" No, we're booked. How about this weekend? No, we're booked. How about this weekend? No, we're using it. No, how about this weekend? It just was a constant no.
I understand that.
Yeah, and I understand it too. They're running a business, and I actually think it's a pretty good thing.
No, they've done very well. But
Yeah, with all the people, you always see all these people in here, and every time I try to go to Sunny's, the place is packed with baseball players. So it's good for local businesses, I think, as well. So, but this will help us tremendously, and I appreciate your guys' time.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
I got to
Thank
go
you.
umpire again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mrs. Spurlock, are you ready?
I am. Switch it over here again.
Want me to pull that off?
Yeah, if you can
got it.
switch. Okay.
We have a different program, huh?
Yeah. Just hit the power button on that. I think.
Got it.
So it's off.
Okay. I see it up on this screen.
Is it?
Incompatible audio signal.
Come on.
We're coming.
It's slow.
Well, I appreciate you all having me. Sorry I missed last month's meeting. I'm here. I'm Leslie Spurlock. I am the tobacco prevention specialist for Indian River County, and I met previously with Rob Slezak, and I know I've come before the county council, or the city council, excuse me, many times about different tobacco issues, and one of the things that this city council actually did on their own was banning the electronic cigarettes everywhere that cigarette smoking is banned. So they've been pretty progressive in their support of tobacco issues and tobacco control. So today I'm going to expose you to some new smokeless tobacco products that are out there. Also, we'd like to give you a lot of information about how these smokeless products are marketed to youth, not just smokeless, but all tobacco products. I have some pictures of some signs, and you can see what we've done locally in the tobacco control issues. We can also look at tobacco-free policies. The reason I've come before you today is that the goal of my activity and my presentation to you is to try and find out if we can work together and have little leagues like Mr. Muller's have a mission statement and or a policy in place that states that they are providing a healthy play environment for all children. This means that not only the umpires and referees and all the games, but also, and all the coaches also, but the parents provide a tobacco-free environment for their kids. The smokeless that you might have known before is no longer just that. It's not just pouch smokeless tobacco or dip, but they do have something called snooze now. Snooze is in the center there, and it's packaged in little bitty tiny pieces of paper, and it's very finely ground tobacco. So this is even more easily hidden when people use it. Then they have orbs, strips, and sticks. It almost looks like candy, but that is also available. Of course, we all know what the effects of smokeless tobacco can be. A lot of mouth cancer, but not only that, and not only the gum disease, but also heart attacks.
I had a friend of mine a few years ago now.
He died from it, yes. Well, we all know that Kurt Schilling just came out not too long ago with the fact that he's battling throat cancer because of all his years of chewing tobacco.
He's talked about that a number of times.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to beat it.
Unfortunately, Tony Gwynn can't beat it. He passed away. Well, smokeless versus cigarettes. Do you know that the cigarettes on the right is equal to what the dips are on the left? If someone dips 8 or 10 times, it's like smoking 30 to 40 cigarettes. That's how much more nicotine is in dip. U.S. Smokeless Tobacco makes it, Reynolds American, and R.J. Reynolds. And as you can see, they're bringing back the Camel. They're also putting a lot of colorful packaging, and that colorful packaging actually goes with flavors. Now, this is from the Surgeon General's report. The tobacco marketing plays a really important role in attracting youth. And youth are the ones that are, it's not just old people that chew tobacco anymore. It's not just out in the rural areas. We have a problem with kids doing it.
Yeah.
I
know a few kids already do that. I'm like, jeez.
I know. But the fact is that the tobacco use overall has gone down so much, especially with cigarettes. And then the electronic ones came up. But also, the fact is that the chewing tobacco stayed pretty level over the last 10 years. So there's a rapid increase in smokeless tobacco use by adolescents and young males because of all the efforts that the tobacco industry has been doing. So it's no longer just your grandpa's chew. U.S. Smokeless Tobacco had a project. They wanted to overcome 3 problems that kids have with tobacco. And this is from their internal documents.
because the nicotine burns mouths, they wanted to have something with a lower nicotine level in it so that it wouldn't turn off young kids when they first try it. They also knew that young kids couldn't handle putting tobacco in their mouth and keeping it in one spot, so they decided they were going to have a pouch. And because it's such a bad taste, they added flavorings to it. So this is one of the reasons that the spit tobacco or smokeless tobacco use has not gone down. This is a quote from one of their internal documents. Cherry Skull is for somebody who likes the taste of candy, if you know what I'm saying.
Aha.
So it has a variety of really kid-friendly flavoring. Up here you see peach, citrus, vanilla, and apple. And these are the ones that are in the pouches. They have to get replacement for all the people who die of tobacco use. And if they don't get the young, they don't get them at all. Because 80% of people who use tobacco start before they're 18.
Yeah.
And 90% start before the age of 20. So there are areas in the country who are actually raising the age that people need to be before they can buy tobacco to 21. Hawaii's done it. New York is considering it. But when they do that, they're hoping to decrease the number of kids that start. So this is Indian River County. If you see Indian River High School kids are in the yellow, and Indian River Middle School is in the red. Middle school is way below high school. Something happens between middle school and high school, and they become more independent. They probably look older. They probably can buy and purchase tobacco when they aren't supposed to. But the other two lines in the graph are the Florida middle school and the Florida high school. And as you can see, we're above the rate, both in middle school and high school. When it comes to the Florida average, we're above that. Well, the other way that the industry markets it is that you can use this when you can't smoke. And here, of course, you don't see any of these ads anymore on TV, but they're in the magazines. And it's only as recently as 2014 that they started really increasing their magazine ads. So this is a magazine ad. Enjoy it in a tobacco-free sports bar. Believe it. You can enjoy tobacco there. And it shows the skull. This is a direct mail. It even has coupons at the bottom. 1 free pack of Marlboro Snus when you purchase the cigarettes. And it fits along your smoke. So if you not only smoke, but you can also use smokeless tobacco where you can't use the other. This is a happy birthday from Copenhagen. This is also another example of direct mail that goes to, and kids can sign up for this over the internet. Of course, we've always known that smokeless was associated with sports and mostly with baseball. If you see this is actually a photo of this baseball player that was kind of busted because he's got the can in the back of his pants there. Mm-hmm. But these increases in magazines and ads, now Skoal is the third most popular among 12 to 17-year-olds. Ads work. Marketing works. Okay? Look at the different magazines that they're actually using. Popular Mechanics, GQ, Car and Driver. And here's an ESPN magazine. This is from that. This appears in ESPN magazine. Here's another example. This is of the snus. See, they have the old camel on there. Before, during, and after, boldly go everywhere. Experience cleaner tobacco enjoyment. Mess-free. And sold cold for freshness. Now, I haven't seen that yet here.
Is it as widespread in China as it's been here for years?
Has it been what?
Is it as widespread smoking and chewing tobacco?
Actually, in Indian River County, we've been just slightly above the state average. With everything, we're still above it. Even in smoking, the state average is 16.8, and we're somewhere around 19.
I thought it had gone down, but it hasn't.
It has gone down a lot over the decades, but if you look, the whole state's gone down too. One of the lowest counties with as far as tobacco use, you wouldn't believe, it's Miami-Dade. So here it is. They've got golf too. I mean, it knows no boundaries when they're marketing. And this was 2015's swimsuit edition of Sports Illustrated. The first ad at the bottom actually is for blue cigarettes, which is electronic cigarettes. Then they have the Copenhagen, and then they have the cigarettes. So they covered all their bases. So what are we doing to counteract the industry? What can we do? Well, like any other, politics or whatever, it's local. It's always local. We have to create a community where it's really less desirable, accessible, and acceptable. And now the norm is not smoking anymore. That's gone down. Now they're trying to make the norm to be the electronic cigarettes, but always in the background, nobody talks about it that much, is the smokeless tobacco. So Knock Tobacco Out of the Park is a Major League Baseball initiative. And this is a quote that I put in here because it just goes to show you they're starting to use their power, even if they can't get Major League Baseball Players Association to go tobacco-free, they're starting to make the parks that they play in tobacco-free. I thought that was a good analogy for what I'm asking. So it's time for baseball to start a new chapter that reclaims tobacco-free parks as the new norm. And that's very important for you to know. That is the normal thing. We want kids, in fact, when electronic cigarettes started coming out, we thought, oh my gosh, this is going to change everything. And it really has. The perception of harm that can be done by an electronic cigarette is not established yet. So kids are so curious, that's why their use of electronic cigarettes has gone up so much. It's not the old norm, it's the new norm. So this is the Florida High School Athletic Association policy. And the policy in part states that the use of alcohol, tobacco, or tobacco-like products by student athletes, coaches, and officials is prohibited during the contest and in the vicinity of the playing field or court. And as I put up there, what group is missing from this? Well, it's all of the spectators. The spectators are missing. And if you do not set something in place, if you don't set an expectation that this applies to everyone, then it leaves a vacuum, and you can have somebody coming in smoking or using electronic cigarettes or using the smokeless tobacco. So we do know what works. Tobacco control policies that make tobacco less desirable and really to make it the norm that is you don't use tobacco, and communicating those policies. You can be communicating them through signage and or mission statements. So this is just a few of the kinds of signs that we see all over the place, wherever we go, right? And I love this one, all canals lead to the lagoon, and that's to keep people from throwing trash. How long has that been up there? I think this is the only county I've ever been in that I've seen something like that, and I think it's fantastic. And, of course, there's always a no-wake zone when you're out boating in the Manatee. There's no littering. So all of these I'm showing you because there's a leash your dog. I love that sign. Dogs must keep their owners on a leash. Put that one in. I like that. And cleaning up after your dog. So these are the kinds of things that there is a policy out there. But if you didn't put the signage out there, nobody would know it. So if nobody knows it, then there's no expectations that anyone will follow that policy. The policy doesn't have to be a law. It doesn't have to be an ordinance. It can be a policy. So communicating the policy. This is at Historic Dodgertown. We've been working with them for the last 3 years, and the signs actually say no smoking, no vaping, no chew. And we have the Tobacco-Free Florida sign and My Quit Doc sign on there. And we help them purchase all of those signs. Here's the newest sign. It was done just a couple of weeks ago, and this is going to be going in their dugouts. It's Play Tobacco Free. No smoking, no vaping, no dipping. This is the one that we purchased for the school district. It too says no smoking, no dipping, no vaping, and has the school district's logo on it. So just to recap, we know that smokeless is really easy to hide. We know it's marketed to use in smoke-free environments, which all of our ball fields and facilities are. The youth are really targeted with all this marketing, that mainstream magazines are pushing it, and they make youth perceive that it's a normal activity. And then smokeless has been associated with sports for decades, and that these policies targeting smokeless use are being implemented locally and nationally. So the goal here today is really to decrease youth use by reducing exposure to all forms of tobacco use, especially while they're being engaged in sports. One of the suggestions I have is to require sports leagues and recreation programs who lease your facilities, we require them to maintain and publicly communicate a tobacco-free play environment for all participants, coaches, referees, and spectators. And to also post signage that creates the expectation of a tobacco-free play environment. So at this point, let's talk. Anybody have any questions, concerns, and comments?
Smoke things you put in front of the library?
Pardon me?
Did you put those little containers for the cigarette butts at the library?
No, Keep Indian River Beautiful did that.
Because they're being wasted just sitting there. There are more butts, I think, on the floor.
I know. That's the one thing I can't, if you're going to be a smoker, why leave it behind like that for people to get mad at you?
Bench and they're still smoking.
There are a number of people that we know that utilize. We have those over in our parks, and there are a number of people that actually do put those in the right place.
And they do.
Because I just had
That's
an
good.
email about that today from the Parks Department asking who empties it. So I mean, somebody's putting them in there.
Oh, good.
So just to let you know that.
Good. Thank you, Rob.
What do you want us to do, Leslie?
I would really like, I spoke with Rob about it, and I wanted to bring it to you. I spoke with Mr. Yum about it. I want to bring it to you and see what you think about requiring the people who lease your facilities that they should have and maintain and publicize a smoke-free, smokeless, tobacco-free play environment for their children that they supervise.
You have that, don't you?
Well, Mr. Mueller actually told me it's against the law. You can't, do this. Well, it may be against the law, but I had to really dig online to find the Florida High School Athletic League policy. And even when I did, I had to put in the word tobacco before it brought up where the tobacco is in their policy, their tobacco control. The other thing is that if there is something like that, you need to publicize it. It needs to be more accessible. You need to have something online. When I go to look at the cities and the county websites about parks and recreation and the sports leagues and all, the only place that had right in their description no alcohol, drugs, or tobacco was the Gifford Aquatic Center. That was the only facility that had it online so that I could see it. So it may be nice to have a policy,
have
but
that.
like I said, if nobody knows
Leisure
about
Square,
it,
we do.
then the expectation
You're not building.
isn't presented.
Are the Carolinas, and probably into Georgia and Tennessee, still known as Tobacco Road, which it used to be
They are.
when I grew up? It's still known as
Yes,
Tobacco
and you
Road.
still have a smoking and non-smoking sections in some of those states, which is ridiculous.
Even the
I'm gonna talk
expense
to
of
the-
doing this stuff.
I'm going to talk to the county too, because this was taken at the fairgrounds last year, and this is what Martin County just did. They have their fairgrounds tobacco-free, but
Actually, I think what we have is
Just no smoking. I think it's smoke,
What?
no smoking.
It could
At
be
Leisure
no
Square, it can easily be changed to that. I would
no
think it'd
smoke,
be
no
very.
dip, no vape. I think
But
you
we
can
have
But
tobacco-free.
for your-
We already have tobacco-free playgrounds.
Yes, that's correct. We ask right inside the playground areas. We
And the
ask
high
people
school
not
has it
to
at
be
their
able not to
athletic
use
fields.
it.
Well, the high school, all the schools have that signage. Yeah.
Right. Our
Stadiums.
And again, one thing I was going to say, what's most important is really when you start looking at the facilities that the city has with recreation, it's mostly Derek's group. And I would think that Derek, I think hearing him talk to Leslie would be amenable to working out some of the signage there. I don't know about the what you can enforce, but I think that you can ask, and I think the groups would be willing to participate.
But who's going to enforce it?
Yeah, as I said,
Well, who
I want to
enforces
say that
leashes
again.
and dogs? and picking up
Enforcement,
after dogs?
enforcement versus asking. I think that asking people to do it and have it be part of their program.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling Derek and his group would be amenable, because really the truth is that Leisure Square, our recreation facilities for kids are mostly at Leisure Square and Riverside Tennis. So Leisure Square, if we just change the signage and we put some signage up at Riverside Tennis, I think we're pretty well covered. You cannot do that in the parks, as we learned, as we were told.
Mm-hmm.
However, at the playgrounds, we ask people not to do it. And at those facilities that Leslie's talking about, those are what I would consider the people that have the lease agreements, the $1 lease agreements. And I would almost be willing to guess that Derek and his group would be more than willing to work with Leslie, and I think they're going to get together and just talk about it.
We probably are.
I mean,
That's probably the easiest way to address it, because if you have to go back and try to change leases,
yeah, I think
you're going to have a lot of problems.
Right. But my thing is, I think that I think they can work that out. And I think the city would
I think it's all
be
voluntary.
very much amenable to
Yeah.
it. So
I think
Yeah,
it's
so-
mostly
mandatory thing, I'm not so.
Yeah,
a little
why
bit
don't we just leave it at
skittish
that, you work with the different groups, if they want to do it, it's up to the groups.
That'd be great.
Type.
No, I much prefer voluntary over anything else. But, you don't know what other groups might come in. But obviously this group's been pretty much the only one. So.
They're the ones. So
So I've had a real good learning experience during this, doing all of these assessments and things. So,
Okay, we need to move on.
okay.
Give me your presentation.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right. We have next, no old business, recreation directors matters. Easter egg hunt. Who's going to do this? Patty?
Sure.
go ahead, Penny.
Okay. Easter egg hunt is coming up Saturday, March 19th at Mulligan's again. They have so graciously sponsored it again.
Real eggs, huh?
Not real eggs. 3,000 candy stuffed eggs. Like I said, Saturday, March 19th, 10 o'clock at Mulligan's on the beach behind Mulligan's. I hope to see you guys there. We also have that same week our Air Atlantics and gymnastics students performing at the Firefighters Fair on Wednesday, March 16th at 6 o'clock, and Saturday, March 19th, there's a show at 2 and another show at 3:30. Then, the week following that, March 21st through the 24th, we'll have Spring Break Cheer Camp at Leisure Square. It'll be full day, 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. just snow camp on Friday because it happens to be Good Friday. After that, we have gymnastics registration. Our next session, the registration is April 2nd. This session does not have a performance attached to it, so it might be a little bit smaller attendance, but it'll be pure gymnastics. And then we'll head into our summer session right after that.
And the Leisure Square Skate Park, the City Council approved the Vero Beach Skate Park Alliance and VBLA to raise funds for a skate park at Leisure Square.
Yeah, but the actual size of the skate park is to be determined depending upon how much money they raise, right? So, all right, any questions?
Nope.
Chairman's matters. I'll note in here, I guess email was sent to Rita regarding the buoy replacement. I've got a question about that. It says you got white ones and red ones.
Okay, let's talk about the buoys a little bit. That came from the Vero Beach Lifeguard Association, which is a not-for-profit group that's not a part of our recreation department. They are working in sync with the Indian River County, which happens to be the ones that handle those buoys. We can find out for you what the difference is. Is that what you're asking, Dick, between a white and a red?
Well, I mean, what it says is the red, well, I guess, this implies that they're two different reefs. Are there? I thought the Pep Reef was
I
just
thought it was
one.
just one reef. I always thought there was just one reef, but
Yeah,
I'll find
that's
out
what I thought.
that.
So, can you get some clarification?
Sure. I will make sure to ask the VBLA that question direct.
And I assume they're dealing with the county as far as the issue. I don't know, they want to remove those,
I think they're assisting the county. The idea is to assist the county to make sure that people who are going and utilizing the water are aware of where the reefs are and to be cognizant of them and protect them from either getting caught up in them or being around the fish that like to hang out by them.
Yeah, what brought this to question in the last sentence, it says white buoys mark the offshore reef, red buoys mark
Pep reef.
the onshore reef.
One's the Pep reef and the other one's probably the regular
The real
ocean reef. But I'll double check.
Yeah, so the white would be the Pep Reef barrier.
Closer up.
Yeah.
I'll check.
All right.
I'll make sure you
Not gonna be late.
I'll make sure that I get that to Rita so you guys all get that answer.
Well, it's really a county issue, not city, right?
It is. I mean, when it comes to the buoys and everything else, it really is the county that are the ones that actually are the ones behind those buoys themselves. That's right. But we'll find out. I'll find out the difference at least to let you know.
I mean,
And I'll
are
make sure
the
to send
buoys
it to
even
you.
required?
I don't think so, but I think it's recommended.
Just to assist the lifeguards.
I think the importance of the buoys are just to protect the
Swimmers?
yes, the swimmers and the reefs.
All right, that was my question.
Yep.
Let's go to members' matters. Start Sue.
Sure. You had a note in here telling the recreation department that we got the mural approved. I've given everybody 5 pictures. They're not really in the right order, but the upper right-hand corner picture, that's where we started. And the rest of the pictures are pretty much from today. We're about, I don't know, a little less, I think, than halfway finished. Should be done by the end of next week, we're hoping.
It's awesome.
Thank you. Rob's putting together a dedication ceremony along with Go Play Vero people for April 8th.
We're looking for April 8th. We just got to make sure and confirm from all the powers that be.
Right. Afternoon, please.
Okay. Right, me.
That's all I have.
Looks like it's moving pretty fast, actually.
Yep.
All right.
You ought to get hazard pay for doing that, though. The guys that are banging the balls on the side of Jason, it's like, I got hit twice today.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not nice.
I know.
I wonder if they're aiming.
All right, Judy, what do you have?
Vero Beach Lifeguard, is that anything to do with the city?
Vero Beach Lifeguard Association is a 501c3 not-for-profit group. A number of the people that are on the Vero Beach Lifeguard Association are Vero Beach lifeguards. Their basic goal is twofold. One is to educate the public on the lifeguarding program, and the second is to raise funds for possibly some lifeguard materials, etc. But they're also involved now with the Vero Beach Skate Park,
And they're also
which is a
involved
part
with
of
me
it.
at my school.
And they
I wanna
also,
praise them,
and that's
why.
it. And in their education, they'll come out and educate the kids on everything from rip currents to swimming conditions to swim near a lifeguard. They will do that. And this is something that they've taken upon themselves to start and run with and educate the public as much as they can.
Not just on that, Derek and I are going back for female, helping me possibly getting a child a wheelchair. The group.
And again, that's again with
I just wanna
Eric
thank
and
them
his group.
publicly.
Eric and all of the group are trying to do their best to help out the public in the different ways that they can.
Appreciate it. And I was kind of disappointed at the city council meeting I went to the last. We had 2 negatives about our recreation commission, but they lost 3-2.
With the
Thinking that
skate park?
no, yeah, more or less the property and all, complaining about where it was and all, but it didn't work. It was voted 3-2 to approve it.
Oh, you mean with the skate park?
Right.
Right.
But I want to thank the other 3 publicly too. Because the kids at my school and the high school are telling me they want it.
Absolutely.
Greg, what do you have?
I don't have anything at this point.
Okay, it's your turn, Chris.
Nothing at this point, thank you.
With that, there is one thing. The meeting next month has been changed. Right? The date, it's not the second Tuesday.
You're looking at what,
April
April 5th? At
4 p.m.
Leisure Square.
Leisure Square, yes.
So it's not going to.
It's not the 12th.
Okay. Good news.
Yeah, and the reason for it is Rob's out of town.
Tuesday.
And what we're going to do, we're going into the budget series. So this is the one where we meet with staff for their recommendations. That's the only time that Rob can get into it. So, but note on your calendar, it's the 5th and not the 12th that we meet.
Got it.
All right, we're adjourned.